Okay, good afternoon. See, this endomyocardial biopsy is a slightly hot topic in the sense that, except Udmilbhai thought that let us make people aware that we are doing this investigation, and actually it's a very useful thing, very important for our transplant program, which actually, I mean, which gave rebirth to this test, which was available, but we are hardly doing. And you will be surprised to know that in Gujarat, except SIMS, nowhere this is done. So I'll just give brief review why we should do, or what are the indications, how we are doing this. So basically, it is a technique by which we take heart tissue from the endomyocardium. It is a transvenous procedure. So we go from endocardial side and we take a piece of endomyocardium and we send for light microscopy, routine microscopy. We go for immunohistochemistry. We do viral genome PCR also, and even can be sent for electron microscopy. But most common indications are protocol biopsy for cardiac allograft rejection, that is heart transplant. So we do protocol biopsy, and when we suspect heart transplant rejection clinically or by echocardiography or by some other test, then we do in between also at EMB. And another important indication is diagnosis of various forms of acute myocarditis, because some of the myocarditis are treatable. So we'll review that also briefly. Was developed in 1962 by Kono and Sakakibara in Japan. So this was almost 60-year-old bioptom. Now it is very well refined. It's just 5 French or 6 French. You can go from jugular approach, which is a short 50 centimeter, or you can go through femoral approach, which is a 110 centimeter long. It is jaw like bioptom, which are used by gastro people. It is similar kind of bioptom, but it is a small thing. It's just 2 millimeter jaw. So basically, there are two approaches. Either can go through femoral, or you can go from internal jugular vein (IJV). So usually femoral is slightly preferable because it's easy and less painful for the patient, paradoxically. So like we done under local anesthesia, just 2 hour fasting is like a daycare procedure. Patient can go home after 4 hours. 8 hematocritis and introduce in the femoral, short femoral, IV cannula. Then we have got this 6 French Moulin sheath, and through which bioptom goes. We usually take from interventricular septum. We don't take from free wall because then chances of perforation is high. From jugular, if you go, take from IJV, go to SVC, RA, and then in the RV near septum, and this is the way by which bioptom actually takes this small piece. So this is how we go. When we go from the femoral vein, we take hemodynamics also. We measure RA pressure, RV pressure, pulmonary artery pressure. Then we do angiogram also in the left anterior oblique view to profile the interventricular septum. So this is the area from where we try to take biopsy, because it's a very delicate. RV wall is a very thin otherwise and can easily perforate and can lead to tamponade or cardiac perforation. So this is how bioptom is open here, and this is how we take biopsy piece. So there are almost 3 to 5 times we do this. 3 to 5 pieces are collected. So usual volume of 3 to 4 millimeter square is enough. It is sent for microscopy if required for electron microscopy and viral PCR and immunohistochemistry. We have got very good pathology department. Gautam Sir actually helps a lot, and he does all kind of reporting within 24 to 48 hours. So complications are very less, actually less than 0.5%. You can take biopsy from left ventricle also if your condition is limited to left ventricle, pathology is limited to left ventricle, where complication rate is slightly higher, but it is very safe, can go through even right radial artery or right femoral artery. From transvenous side, complication rate is just 0.1 to 0.2% only. So it is not as careful procedure as people think of. So what are the indications? I'll just take 2-3 more minutes. See, cardiac transplant rejection is the most important consideration, and timing for this is, in first year we take initially it was weekly. In Western protocol it is weekly, and then every 15 days and then monthly. So there are almost 10, 12 biopsies are taken in 1 year. In India and rest of the world now guidelines are changing. So we take biopsy at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months and 12 months. And after 1 year, we don't take routinely. In Western countries, they still go on taking every few months or every year. Now, as per most of the Indians are following this guideline that on clinical suspicion or by echo features of rejection or patient has any symptom or if this donor specific antibody is positive, then and then we do biopsy after 1 year. First commonest indication is cardiac allograft transplant rejection, and second is diagnosis of various forms of myocarditis. So actually, this is very, very important indications because in myocarditis, there are there are some myocarditis which are treatable. There is acute viral infection, there can be autoimmune disease, or there can be some hypersensitivity reaction, or there can be drug toxicity. So once you diagnose that this is the cause, then there is specific treatment for some of the myocarditis, and some are treatable because, and some have very bad prognosis. So you know that this patient is not going to survive unless you go for left ventricular assist device, that is artificial heart or heart transplant. So in that way, diagnosis is very, very essential. So class 1 indication in a suspected case of myocarditis is if somebody has fulminant heart failure just of less than 2-week duration. That is class 1 indication. So patient comes with a severe acute onset heart failure of no cause, routine treatment is given, patient is not improving, he may need even mechanical circulatory support, which may lead to intra-aortic balloon pump or ventilator and a lot of inotropes. And in such cases, you should do endomyocardial biopsy and should go for diagnosis. Another class 1 indication is any heart failure which is from 2 weeks to 3 months duration, where patient has heart failure not responding to standard guideline directed medical therapy, and patient has either persistent heart failure or persistent arrhythmia or persistent high degree AV block. That is another class 1 indication. And class 2 indication, 2A indication is patient is having heart failure after 3 months, more than 3 months of duration, but he has not responded adequately to the routine guideline directed medical therapy, and still he has some evidence of arrhythmia. So these are the 3 main indications in myocarditis. Another point to be discussed is why we should go for invasive procedure when cardiac MRI can also diagnose myocarditis. So see, so there are 4-5 situations when patient is in, say, fulminant heart failure who has come up less than 2 weeks of duration, and patient is in cardiogenic shock and is on ventilator or intra-aortic balloon pump or left ventricular assist device. And that time he cannot go to MRI, which is a long procedure, and there are so many gadgets which will interfere with the magnet. So in that case, endomyocardial biopsy is the indication, is a class 1 indication. You should directly go for EMB. When patient has acute myocarditis without complication and patient can sustain can be subjected to MRI, then that is preferable rather than going for EMB, because if MRI is totally normal, you may skip the endomyocardial biopsy. Although if you combine sensitivity of MRI can pick up almost 50-55% of patients of myocarditis. But if you combine MRI with EMB, then your sensitivity to pick up something is almost 85%. So many centers do both. If patient has unstable arrhythmia, then of course MRI cannot be done. Then you should go for EMB directly. If patient has more than 3 months of duration, then sometimes inflammation has subsided, MRI may not pick up everything, then you should go directly for EMB. And of course, when you want to see response to therapy, both are useful. So this is actually most important slide. Luckily it has come here. See, when you have clinically suspected myocarditis, there are 3 situations. One is patient comes within 2 weeks with fulminant heart failure or acute coronary syndrome like thing, patient is in cardiogenic shock. There may be STT changes which may mimic that patient has acute coronary syndrome, but actually it is a myocarditis. So it is just, and patient is in severe shock state or low output state, and patient needs mechanical circulatory support and a lot of inotropes. So that is the commonest clinical situation. Another is new onset heart failure, 2 weeks to 3 months duration. So what we should do? You give standard guideline directed medical therapy, but then you should go for endomyocardial biopsy if there is no response in just few days. What you can find that sample is sent for routine microscopy, it is sent for immunohistochemistry, it is sent for even viral genome identification, that is viral PCR, which can be done here. Now there are three possibilities. Either there can be inflammation present and viral genome can be negative. So that means inflammation is there, virus is negative. That means it can be granulomatous, myocarditis or giant cell myocarditis, which is treatable by anti-thymoglobulin and cyclosporin and prednisolone. It can be sarcoidosis or eosinophilic myocarditis, which again responds to prednisolone and heart failure treatment. So these are some treatable form of myocarditis which gives response if you correctly diagnose. If virus is positive and inflammation is there or inflammation is absent, then you can try to find out by viral genome which type of virus is there. It can be adenovirus, it can be enterovirus, then you can give interferon beta which will respond. So these are some curable form of therapy, and that is why you need to identify which kind of virus is there. If it is a parvovirus or if it is a herpes virus, then treatment is different. Different antiviral can be given. If patient has inflammation present but virus is negative, that means you should give only immunosuppressive medicine like azathioprine or prednisolone. And if there is no inflammation, no virus, then consider that it may be a sum of pelvic dysfunction which is of genetic origin, and immunosuppressive therapy should not be given unnecessarily to this patient. So basically, you can differentiate whether it is virus presence by viral genome PCR. You can see inflammation, presence of inflammatory lymphocytes and mononuclear cells, and fibrosis and necrosis by routine microscopy, or you can see absence of both, then treatment is different. So this is the most important slide. Okay.